sometimes when you're sitting around with your therapist, it leads you to an idea that actually my wife's a lot worse than I realized, or my mom's a lot worse than I realized. She is toxic. And I interviewed this wonderful clinical psychologist, Joshua Coleman, who's also an author, who deals with family estrangement. So the rates of young people cutting off their parents is higher than we've ever seen before. Young adults are saying they no longer speak to their family members. That's a fairly new as a significant phenomenon in American life. People who say my parents are toxic, they're emotionally abusive. Now we're talking here about loving parents. People who were actually abused by their parents, they're actually very often more desperate for the relationship. But the people who seem to be cutting off their parents in alarming numbers when they reach adulthood, very often were raised very gently by their parents in the most loving homes. But for whatever reason, then they went off to therapy and decided, no, this was toxic and emotional abuse. People who think they're shy, they just say, okay, I can do it. I can overcome my shyness. But if you have a mental disorder, what you're saying is, I need someone else to come help me. I need a drug or a therapist or somebody else. I can't do it on my own. Now, if you have a disorder, by all means, get the help you need. But that's different than young, healthy people talking themselves into incapacity. And that's what we're seeing. That's why they don't want to go for it. That's why they don't know that life is an adventure, because they don't feel up to its challenges. My conclusion was that parent confidence is so undermined by all these so-called experts who have told them, no, you don't know your kid's brain well enough to set down rules for your own kids. If you don't understand the fight or flight impulse and the amygdala, you're not ready to raise kid. It's nonsense. It was always nonsense. We have been raising good people to adulthood for how many generations now? But it's so undermined parents' confidence. And then they were afraid that anytime they yelled at a kid or punished a kid, it could cause emotional trauma. Affirming your child's pain, affirming their feelings, recognizing in them and telling them that's okay. It's very seductive. Why shouldn't we do that? Well, with an adult, if you're a non-judgmental therapist, which is what therapy is, right? Maybe an adult just wants a place to go without shame to talk about some of the things they've done or experienced in their life, and that's understandable. But a child is trying to figure out, is trying to calibrate, is this a proper response? Is the fact that I wanted macaroni instead of chicken a reason to scream and throw the food at my mother? And the parent has to tell them no. No, that's not something to get angry about. I know you're feeling lots of things, but anger is not appropriate. Kids go through completely routine life events like being rejected by someone you liked or getting a grade that you didn't want, a failing grade or whatever, and they're having absolute nervous breakdowns over it. They're having mom call their bosses, which I heard time and again. Mom is calling their bosses because they can't do it themselves.